All right, we're going to start back up. What I'm going to ask you to do right now, and this is going to look a little different. You may or may not have a folder already on your desktop called payroll. I'm going to assume you do. Okay? If you do, rename that folder on the desktop that's called payroll. Rename it something like payroll old. And actually use the right cases as opposed to what I did. Yes, for Java. Everybody does their stuff different. Some of you put it on your desktop, some of you don't put it on your desktop, etc. But what I'd like would be for you to please then, after you do that, create a new folder on your desktop that is called payroll. And then I want to show you something that I found out, for lack of better words, kind of by accident as I was playing around with this stuff over the break. All right. Right now, we are going to create, I don't know if we can do all these or not, but I actually have programs for chapters 1, 2, 3, and 4 on here. All right. And we'll see how much we get done. Now, for chapter 1, I've got one program. For chapter 2, I've got 2 programs. For chapter 3, I've got 3 programs. And for chapter 4, I don't remember. Looks like I have 2 programs. All right, so that's a total of 7 programs. We're probably not going to get all that done today, but that's the stuff that I planned on getting done this week. All right, so what I'd like you to do is after you create this folder called payroll, open it up. All right, right mouse click on it, and inside of there, I'm going to just create all of them here. I'm payroll 01, payroll 02A, payroll 02B, payroll 03A, payroll 03B, payroll 04A, and payroll 04B. And if everybody names them the same thing, when you eventually start turning stuff into me, it'll make it much easier for me to grade, because I'll know exactly what to look for while I'm grading it. Now, does that make sense to everyone? I don't know if I can make that actually look bigger or not. No, yeah, I can. There. Not there. And since I know some of you like to look, Tiffany, there's, oops, well, I was going to show you. No, I'll show it later. So we have those, what, 3, 5, 7 different folders. All right. Now, what I want you to do, please look up on the screen here. It's not a hard thing, but I just want you to see this. So please look up on the screen. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open the first folder, payroll 01. Again, I say please look and no one's looking. All right. So with that open, what I want you to do is copy that path. Okay? So I'm going to copy the path right there. Just copy the path to the clipboard. Then the folder doesn't have to be open anymore. But what I want you to do is start up IntelliJ IDEA then. We're going to do this about 15 times or 20 times by the time we get done with all the programs we're going to write. This will get us through the first 4 chapters. Oh yeah, that's the new picture. Oh, it keeps going away, but it'll come back. That's go. Close. So you should be here, correct? once you start up IntelliJ, I'll give you a second. I know some of you've got slower machines, etc. Has everybody gone and created a payroll folder and put the 7 folders inside of it? We've all done that, correct? All right. So if you are here, what I want you to do is click the Create New Project link. All right? We're going to be doing this every time, at least for a while. Java should be chosen by default up here. If it's not, make sure it's clicked. You don't have to choose any of the libraries. When eventually we get into Kotlin, you'll want to choose the Kotlin JVM, which means you're writing Kotlin Java. All right? Groovy is another language. I've never used it, so I'd be lying if I told you anything about it. The Kotlin JS, you can write Kotlin in JavaScript. We won't do that. All right, if you want to teach yourself that, that's what you're going to be doing, is teaching yourself that. All right, but with Java chosen, then click Next. We do not want any templates, so click Next again. Now, here's where the magic is. If you look up on the screen here, where it says location, highlight all that and paste in your location. This is what you will do for the next 7 programs. Yes? How is his set up? Yes. Then have you already downloaded the SDK from Java, from the Java site? Okay, then you're going to have to do that. We'll wait for a minute while you do that. So when you paste this in, when you paste in that path I told you to paste in, then it should put the project name for the last thing. That's what we want. So what that will do, we already have a folder by that name. It'll put everything into that folder. Does that make sense? Because that's what we want. All right, is we want everything to go in there. Again, this will be a little slower because I want Colin to catch up. You have to choose the. What's this one? No. Did you already do that? Right mouse click on it, and you may have to open it when it's done. I don't know if it's going to make you do that or not. I don't think it's going to happen. But what should happen is when it gets all done, then you come back in there where it said that JDK, click the new button. No. Yes. And then, yeah, so just click new. Okay, when it's done, click new, then you'll have to go choose it. Since you chose the 64-bit, it should be under your program files, Java folder. Get down until you find the JDK, there'll be a folder with JDK in it. Choose that one, and that's what you'll look at. Then you should be okay. So when we do the next program, because we'll do several today, but when we do the next one, what you'll do is you will open up the folder that's called Payroll 02A. You will copy the path, go through this process again, and then put that in there. And then that will create the project Payroll 2A. Now we could call everyone payroll if we wanted to. It wouldn't hurt anything. But let's not do that. Let's just do this. All right? Did it come up okay? Okay. But for the rest of us, I mean, you can follow those steps. You click finish, and boom, that should start it up. All right? So it should look like this after you click finish. just so you're all aware of this, okay? I sent you all an email. You may or may not have seen it. I don't know if it was this morning or I think it was yesterday. Brady sent me one and asked what software we'd need. So when I sent it back to him, I said, Brady, I hope you don't mind, but I sent it to all of you. All right? Now, the reason that I'm telling you that, it is totally possible for you to write Android programs, Java Android and Kotlin Android in this package. So if you've got your heart set on using IntelliJ IDEA, you can do that. That said, the recommendation by Google, who owns Android, is that you develop your Android apps using Android Studio. All right? But it really doesn't matter. You can actually use Android Studio for regular Java and Android. You can use IntelliJ IDEA for regular Java and for Android. All right? Still loading? That's my new picture. That's so big. But from what I hear, she's getting an attitude. So now when when she's tired of doing so big, she does it with her feet. And she kicks anything that's near her. That's what I've been told. I haven't seen her. I didn't see her this weekend because the weather was supposed to be so bad yesterday. At least once a week. I'm taking her and her mom and uh, her fiance out to dinner tomorrow. So they're supposed to be bringing her. I think they are. Olivia. Funny thing is, her name's Olivia, and um, the dog that my wife got a year ago is they let my middle daughter name her. Don't ask me why, but she named her Olive. So there's an Olive and an Olivia. So that's always fun. The dog's a nut job anyway. What's going on there, guys? Okay. For the rest of you, and it's okay because you'll catch up. All right. If you look up on the screen, everybody, you should have these two folders, right? Right here, or these. So if we go to the first folder here that says Payroll 01, and you click the arrow that's right there, you get this. Hopefully you remember this from last semester. It's coming back to you. All right. Then we want to right mouse click on the source folder and choose New Java Class. All right. Eventually, not today, but eventually, if you look on the screen, we are also going to be creating an interface. So that's how you will do it. Okay. It's going to look, when you go through these steps. Also, eventually, just so you know, eventually, we're going to have more than one file in here. So you're going to create another class. When you go in to create a second class, you don't put a path in here. Found that out the hard way. All right. So now, if you remember from last semester, we're going to use reverse domain notation. So edu.rankin.jpscott, you'll put yours in, dot payroll with a big P. Just like that. Like that. Reverse domain notation. Whereas don't put JP Scott for yours. Put E. Wilson or E. Resnock or A. El Hassan, etc. Please. Make sure that the P is capitalized because that's the name of your class. This is the name of your package right there. Your package name will be package edu.rankin.your.login. All right? The name of the class will be payroll. Always make sure that one has a capital letter. Everything else is in lowercase. Questions on that? All right, so if I click OK then, this is what it builds. So you can see my package statement. You can see my class name. All right? Again, I'm more anal than most of you, so I always do this to start. If you want to keep your stuff on the same line, keep it on the same line. If you don't want comments in here like I'm making, then don't do it. All right? And as we learned from Mr. Wilson last semester, if you get right here, if everybody look on the screen, please. If you type in PSV like that, it'll put main in for you. PSV, hit the tab key, and it builds that for you. If you say, I don't get it, then type it in. But those of you who are typing deficient, you should look for every darn fast way to put stuff in, or if your machine is that slow, anything that you can do to make things go faster, you should be trying to do that. All right. Any questions on anything that's up there? Right now, in some ways at least, this looks a bit like C#, yet it looks very different than C#. We don't have the concept of a package in C#. We use a namespace, but it's not really the same thing. This right here, just so you know, this thing that says package, all that did was to make this folder. That's all it did. And now we're telling you what we want to have live under this folder. I don't want you to do this, but I want you to look on the screen if you would, please. If I decided I needed another class now, I don't. But if I did, I would again right mouse click on here, choose new Java class, but I would not say edu, etc. I would just give it the name of the class. All right? Okay. Every Java application that we do like this must have a main. So this is called our class header. It's letting us know that the class is public. You can only have one public class in each Java program. Now, here's something that you may or may not know. You can have as many private classes inside of that public class as you want to. They are called inner classes. That is legal to have private classes inside of a public class. Why would you do that? We'll look at that when we get to the GUI stuff. Okay? I will show you how to do that, why you might want to do that. All right? So that's the class header. It's public, meaning it can be that payroll can be used here and be used externally. It's a class. Since it's a public class payroll, the name of this file must be payroll.java. See that? Must be. All right. There's our beginning and ending curlies. Here is our method header. Every method must have a header in it. That header must have its access specifier, public, private, or protected. All right. Must have, in this case, static, meaning there's only one of them. There's only one main. There can only be one main. Main, which is the name. Void, which is the return type, meaning there can't be a return statement in here. Or if there is, we must put in return semicolon. We can't return a value. Okay? And main, the name. And if we wanted to pass anything in from the command line, we could. I'm not going to be going over passing in stuff from the command line. So if you want to know that, You should be Googling passing in command line parameters in Java, and you can find plenty of programs that will do that. Yes. Didn't you have that last semester too? Did you try to get out and get back in again? I said this last semester. We need a GoFundMe project for Tiffany and for Amin, so we can get them both new computers. I'll tell you what. No matter how bad though, some of you think you have it here. Evan was telling me in St. Louis last week that he's got a student. Finally, Evan went and was going to use his own money. The guy has only one shirt and one pair of pants. And he's thinking maybe just one pair of socks. All right, but he managed to get him some extra shirts. So no matter how bad some of us have it, there's always other people who have it worse than we do. Whatever happened with yours there, Colin? Are you caught up? Okay. And you're starting yours up again, Tiffany, to see if okay. Well, I'll tell you what while we're waiting, okay, I've got about 9 variables that I created in this program. So I'm going to put a comment in here that says declare and initialize local variables. Somebody, please tell me, why does that say local variables? They're local because they're, well, yeah, but you're right. They are defined inside of a method. We can define variables out here. If I define variables in here, they would be global to the class. All right? We don't want those now. We'll do that later. So, again, I've got in here declare and initialize global variables. And I went a little nuts here because I want to show you some of the stuff that's in here as we go on. All right, so you have to learn to spell though. Again, feel free to put your own values in there for this stuff. Again, if you fall behind, I have already done these. They're all online under the YouTube channel. All right, but I don't want to sit there and spend a half an hour going through a program like this. We should be able to finish this program, the 2 programs for Chapter 2, and ideally 1 or both programs for Chapter 3 today. All right. Remember this multi-line comment, okay? Just so you know, I just put that in there because to show you a multi-line comment, and although there is nothing wrong with what I'm showing you there in the blue, technically that's a bad policy because you shouldn't create a variable like an employee number and make it an int, because any variable that's going to be an int or a double, etc., any one of these numeric variables, you should only make them variables that could conceivably be used in calculations. I can't imagine you ever using an employee number in a calculation. It wouldn't, to me at least, it wouldn't make any sense. All right, so hopefully everybody's gotten a chance to put all of that in. You can see that there is some IntelliSense in here. All right, so when I did the system, it says, oh, you probably want out dot, you probably want, so when I put a P in, PR at least, it'll start finding the different print things that are in here. So I'm going to put in print line. All right. Now, again, please look up on the screen. Those of you who are more typing deficient, we're going to do this 9 times. So I'm going to highlight that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's what you should be doing. The worse typist you are, the more you should be trying to find any shortcut you can so you don't have to be typing. If I've made no mistakes, all right, there's my output. Okay. The hourly rate is not Jeff, though. I don't think that's correct. Once you've got it done, you should always go through this process. Do a file, save all, then click run, and yours won't say run payroll, yours will just say run the first time. So you want to click run, and the first time you do it, it'll bring up a box. It'll ask you what you want to run. You'll choose payroll, and then from then on, you'll do it just the way I did it. So that's what you should get for your output. Now again, yours will be different if you put your name in there. Yours will be different if you put in different numbers. We have put nothing in here for overtime. We will add that when we get to the Chapter 3 code. All right? We will eventually break this up so each of these things is in their own method. Does that make sense? And we'll pass stuff around as need be. So you notice it's what? About 32 lines. And out of there, I put in what? There's at least 1, 2, 3, 4 lines of comments there, blank space. So probably there's about 20 to 25 lines in here. Is there anything in this program that you don't understand? That's the key thing. All we're doing here is we're declaring these first 8 variables, and we are hard coding values into them. All right, then for the last one, we're saying it's equal to 2 of the variables we've already set. So I can run this program a million times, and every time I run it, it's going to give me, in my case, the output is always going to look like this, because we have hard-coded in the values. In the next program, what I'm going to suggest, again, and when I say this, and I have no idea because I have not seen my course evaluations, but if you think, he's being really mean to me, he's talking about me when he says typing deficient, you know who you are if you've got problems typing, all right? But all I'm trying to tell you is I'm not trying to be critical of you. I'm trying to tell you that if there's a way for you to save time, you should try to use that way. Such as, we're going to create a second example of this. What I would do would be literally to grab everything that's in here, everything, and copy it to the clipboard. Everything. So I'm grabbing the whole program. Again, you could do an edit select all, you can do a control A, you can drag over it, you can do whatever tickles your fancy as far as you want it. But I'm going to highlight all of it, do a control C to copy. All right? Make sure you always should be doing this. The software is supposed to ask you this, but you should always make sure that the last thing you do, again, is another file, save all. It's just good practice to do that. All right? So, if you've got all that done, let's do a file, and we'll tell it to close the project. All right? And we'll create a new project. Okay? Again, I guess I probably should have left that old one up there. It's fine. But the point is this. We're going to go through the same series that we just went through. Next, next. But now we have to change this, and I guess I should have left that up. So I've got to find my payroll folder. And now I want to find, now look, if you look on the screen here, that's the stuff I just did for the first program. It filled it up in there. But all the other ones are empty, so I'm going to double click on payroll 2A. Again, I'm going to copy that path, and I'm going to paste it in here. All right, and click finish. Now I've got that one. The problem is, now I lost that code that I copied before, so I'm going to show you another way to get to it in just a second. All right. Just like we did before, I'm going to click on this arrow here by payroll 2A. I'm going to right mouse click on my source folder. I'm going to choose new, Java class. You know it by now, edu.rankin.jpscott.payroll. Exactly the same as the way I did it last time. I'm going to have about 10 or 15 or whatever classes that are all going to say payroll on there. But it's okay because they're all inside of different packages. So it's totally fine to do that. All right, so I'm going to click OK, and I'm right where I was before. All right, now if you look on the screen here, you don't have to do this, but this is what I'm showing you. All right, so if you look on the screen, I've got my folder that's called payroll. I gotta find it. Usually it's right in front of me, and there it is. All right, so I've got this folder called payroll right there. I'm going to go over to my first payroll folder just to show you this. So I'm going over to the first payroll 01, and then underneath it I've got a folder called source. Underneath that I've got an edu and a Rankin and a JP Scott, and there's the file I created, the first one. That's it. So now with that open, I'm going to do a Control A, Control C to copy it. Then I'm going to go back to the program I've just created. I'm going to get rid of everything that's in there and paste that in. All right. Now, if I did it too fast or whatever, you still can type it back in again. There's a lot of ways you can do this. What I'm going to do is when we get done with this example, I'm going to save everything and copy it to, I'm going to copy it over to Notepad++. That'll make it easier. Still can't type? Well, I wouldn't do that. The first thing I try would be to reboot your machine. All right? Because, I mean, it's okay to do that, but that's pretty extreme. That's all. All right, so for this second example, if you look up on the screen here, a couple things that I want to do for this second example. First thing, I don't want to hard code in any values. See this? So I want the first name to be the empty string. For some reason, this is not considered an empty string. For a character, so for a character, make this a blank because it'll take it just fine. So just do that. This will be the empty string. I'm going to set all of my numeric variables to 0. Booleans I'm going to default to false. In fact, I'll make this 0.0. All right. This line of code is not correct now because if I run the program right now, it's going to have first name and there'll be nothing in it. Last name, there'll be nothing in it. Or middle initial, nothing in it, but a blank space. Last name, nothing in it. Age 0. Is union false. Emp number 0. Hours work 0. Hourly rate 0. Gross pay 0. That doesn't make much sense. But just to show you, I'm going to do a file, save all. You don't have to do this. But if I run it now, notice now, the first time you run it, it doesn't show you run up there. You have to go down here and choose run. And then it says, which of these do you want to run? It's always going to be the name of your class. All right. But now, since I have not hard-coded in any values, it just gives me all the defaults. Well, that's not much. I don't want that, so I'm going to change it. All right. The reason I'm telling you that, though, is right now, I'm going to set gross pay equal to 0. And I'm setting it equal to 0 because I don't have an hours worked yet, and I don't have an hourly rate yet. If you bring it back up and it still does that, I would just literally Google, cannot. What it? Okay. Because I'm not saying you don't have to reinstall it, but it's happened before with other packages, so it seems pretty extreme. It almost seems like there's a problem someplace in your computer. I don't know what it is. I don't know enough about it. Maybe somebody like Brady could look at it. Maybe it's your registry or something else. I don't know. All right. Has everybody had a chance to put this in or make these changes? We are going to create a new variable, one more, and it's the first time we're going to be creating an object. All right. So I put this in here. I put a comment in that just said create program scanner variable. All right. And you can call this whatever you want, but since it is the keyboard, I'm going to call it keyboard. All right. Can somebody tell me what does that mean when you get the red like this? It's a program error, correct? The system will try to help you with this. So if you look up on the screen here, if I take my mouse and click on here, all right, just literally click on it and then hold down on the Alt key and tap the Enter key, it'll say, hey, you got some problems here. Do you want to include this file, which is what we want? So I'm going to click on that. Notice it went away because it just imported that file for us. You can manually type that in if you want to do so. You can manually type it in, or you can do what I just did. Either way will work just fine. But you'll notice I don't have the underlines anymore. Now, I didn't spend a lot of time going over the scanner with you because I think it really stinks. All right, it's not that it's terrible, but it's totally non-graphical. All right, and I like using the show input dialog and the show message dialog much, much more than using the scanner object. All right. Now, the reason I'm telling you that is we're going to have to type in quite a bit of code here. All right. And let me move this over a little. All right. Okay. I'll give you a second to put that in. You don't have to. You could name it Ethan if you wanted to. No, the reason is that I'm simulating just regularly using the keyboard. All right. Now, if you don't look up on the screen here, you don't have to do this, but I'm going to do a save all, and I'm going to run it just to show you that what happens when I do this. Please input first name. Sometimes you have to actually click there. So now I can put in my first name. The program's done. It doesn't have any of the rest of the values because I haven't inputted those yet. But you can see it now has a value in there for the first name. Does that make sense to everybody? Again, if you have questions, you have to ask, or I'm just going to keep plodding along. Now, I couldn't find a thing, maybe I just didn't look hard enough for a thing for a character, you know. So what I did, and I'd like you to do this, is I changed this from char mi, I made it string, and I called it middle name. All right, and then you have to set that equal to the empty string. And it's employee middle name. Now you don't have to do that. In fact, if that gives you whatever, then just don't even have a middle name or a middle initial in there. That's not that big a thing. Okay. So again, I changed this line right here from char mi equals single quote space single quote to string middle name instead of middle init equals double quote double quote. All right, and the reason I did that is now I can grab this and put it in 3 times and ask for the middle name and make sure you change both of these and then last name and change, whoops, and change both of those. All right. I tried to set this up so we could go through this fairly quickly. All right. So if you look up on the screen now, I'm going to come in and do a file, save all. You don't have to do this, but I'm going to run it again just to show you. Oh, it gave me an error. It says it. Oh, that's because down here I've got to change that to middle name also. All right. So if you look now on the screen, now I can input my first name, my middle name, and my last name. So now those are set. I'm still going to have to do the other ones. They're done differently. Using that next line that we just used, this right here, you use that next line with strings. And that's what we're working with so far. Okay? But we have age, which is a byte, is union, which is a Boolean, employee number, which is an integer, hours worked, which is a double, and hourly rate, which is a double. So guess what? There is a next byte, next Boolean, next int, and next double. So I'm going to come down to the next one here. I'm again just going to do some copying so I don't have to do a lot of typing. So please input age. All right. Age equal. Notice I get that error right away. It's saying, hey, next line is used with strings. You got an int, so I change it from next line to next int. I thought it was next int. Oh, it's a byte. Thank you. Yep, I'm ahead of myself. Thank you. I will tell you, please look up on the screen here. You almost never, ever, ever see any programmer that I know of that use type byte. Ever. They always use an int. I put it there so you could at least see it. All right? I would always make that an int if I was programming this. You might say, wasn't that kind of a waste because an int can go from negative 2 billion to positive 2 billion? Yeah, but that's just what typically what programmers do. Now, you might get hired at a place and they may say, you know what, that instructor who told you that, he's full of it. We don't do that. Okay. But I'm just going by what I have done in the past. So after age, we have union status. finally we have hours worked and hourly rate. Now I can come in and say gross pay equals hours worked times hourly rate. All right? And if everything works according to the way it should, and I'll come right back to the program, save all, run, run. Now, notice, input first name, input middle name, input last name, input age, union status, employee number, hours worked, hourly rate. And boom, I get all my stuff back. Now, I probably should have put a blank line in there, all right, just so it looked a little nicer, but it all works, okay? So what you may want to do, like I said, is when you come in here to print all that out, put a couple backslash n's there. You don't have to, but it'll look a little nicer if you do. All right. This is the scanner object. So what we are basically doing is using the keyboard for input. I think we'll get one more done today. Again, if you fall behind, I do have these created, okay? So if you do go out to the YouTube channel and you go out to, there's the Java stuff. Nope, that's the C# stuff from this morning. There's the Java stuff. So if you look, there's the first program we did, AWD1112. I'm sorry, they're up here, they're after the PowerPoints. AWD Java Chapter 1 program. All right, there's the Chapter 2, etc. With some of them, I even had multiple copies that I made. Okay. As I create new stuff in here, I'm going to put it right here. I'm going to keep the README first file at the beginning of it. And I'm going to put all the new stuff, I'm just going to keep moving it down. All right, so by the end of the day today, if we get done with the second, with Chapter 2, Part 2 or 2B, there'll be 2B, then there'll be 2A, then there will be Chapter 2 lecture, then Chapter 1 lecture, then the intro. All right, if we get that far today. Everybody have this? Everybody understand what's happening here? We haven't done anything object-oriented yet. We haven't really done anything new yet. Yes?
You need to put like the system out print line for the gross pay.
It's right there.
I thought you were doing it for like the other one up on the top.
No, this one up here, all I did here was just initialize it to 0.
Right, but then don't those system out print that
Those are just our input messages. That's what we're telling the user to input. We don't have to tell them to do anything with the gross pay. That's what's being figured out for us. So again, when I run this, notice.
I just didn't know if it was like the out print line and then the out print, just so it's doing the same thing.
These I'm using system.out.print
Right.
to keep them on the same line to ask for the information.
Right. I just didn't know if it would do twice because you had the
No.
stuff on the bottom.
No. there's the output.
You didn't have the stuff on the bottom, like the print line stuff?
Nothing would print.
Wouldn't print.
No, nothing at all would print. That's why I said copy this, because if you don't put this stuff at the bottom, you're not going to have that. Nothing will print. The program will still run, it just won't be printing any output. So if you ran yours and nothing at all prints, make sure you copied all those system.out.print lines in. All right. You want 5 minutes? 10 minutes? A couple of you look very spent. So why don't you take 10 minutes? In fact, let's start up at 3:45. All right, we'll do the last one. What I'm going to do, just so you see it, I'm going to do another Control A, Control C. I'm going to open up Notepad++, and I'm going to paste that right in. So now I've got a copy of the one I just did. So now I can copy that over when I do the next iteration of